Hi everyone, this is section 1.6 continued. In the previous video we did 4 examples. I have 2 more examples of how to solve some equations, other equations that you see. These 2 tend to be a little bit uglier, and it does require one of our little tricks that we like to see. So I wanted to take some extra time on these 2 and put them in their own video. So the first one we have is 1 plus 1 over x quantity squared minus 6 times 1 plus 1 over x, and then plus 8 equal to 0. Your gut would tell you to square those things out, distribute, combine all your like terms. But I'm going to tell you, as I have in the past videos, to always start and take a step back and look at the big picture. If you look at the big picture, we have something squared, and that same thing shows up here. So here I am going to do again a little substitution, because then it'll turn into a much easier problem. We will get u squared minus 6u plus 8 equal to 0. Okay. This is a quadratic. The first technique for solving a quadratic is to try to factor. So trying to find 2 numbers that multiply together to give me a positive 8, that add together to give a negative 6, multiply to give a positive 8, add together to give a negative 6. So minus 4 and minus 2. So this would factor into u minus 4 and u minus 2, setting each factor equal to 0. U is equal to 4, so I added 4 to both sides, or adding 2 to both sides, u is equal to 2. But we aren't solving for u, we're solving for x. So 1 plus 1 over x equal to 4, and 1 plus 1 over x equal to 2. Subtracting 1, I'm going to do that in both of these little fractions. So subtracting 1, we get 1 over x equals to 3. Here we get 1 over x equals to 1. And I can take reciprocals of both sides. So x is a third, and x is equal to 1. So there are my 2 answers. Could I have gotten it the other way by multiplying all of that out? Yes, but you would have had to FOIL this, distribute your x, or your 6, combine all your like terms, and then you would have had fractions. So you would have wanted to clear your fractions, which would have come down to a quadratic, which you would have been able to solve either factoring or quadratic formula. Remember that if you can't get it to factor relatively quickly, the quadratic formula does work. All right, here's one last problem here. Hopefully you guys are liking my design on my paper there. I have x to the 1/3 plus x to the 1/6 minus 2, that's supposed to be a subtraction symbol, is equal to 0. And this one is like, you look at it and you just kind of go numb for a little while. But I want you to concentrate on that 1/3 and that 1/6. You will notice that the 1/6, to get 1/3, you could take this guy and multiply it by 2. So here you have something that has got an exponent that is twice as much as this. So again, we will do a simple substitution. And we're going to substitute that middle piece, kind of like we did up here. Notice here is 1. This is twice as much. This is like 1, and this is twice as much. So u squared is x to the 1/6 squared, or multiplying your exponents, x to that 1/3. All right, so this is going to turn into u squared plus u minus 2 equal to 0, something a lot less complicated. Now what we want to do is, again, try to factor. So 2 numbers that multiply together to give me a negative 2, that add to give a positive 1. It does factor nicely. And a lot of times these problems are set up so that they will. So a u minus 1 and a u plus 2. So u minus 1 is equal to 0. U plus 2 is equal to 0. Adding 1 to both sides, u is equal to 1. Subtracting 2, u is equal to negative 2. However, u was x to the 1/6. So x to the 1/6 is equal to both of these. And now we have to try to remember, how in the world do we undo the 1/6 power? And what we are going to do is raise them both to the 6th. Okay, because 1/6 to the 6th is, multiply those exponents, simply x to the 1st. 1 to the 6th is 1. So here x is equal to 1, or x is equal to negative 2 to the 6th. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 2 is negative 8, 16, negative 32, positive 64. Hopefully I did that right. Think so. So there are my two answers. And you can double check. The cube root of 1 is 1, plus 1 is 1, minus 2 is 0. So 1 plus 1 is 2, minus 2 is 0. The cube root of 64 is 4, plus the sixth root of 64 is 2, minus 2 does not work. So the cube root, so this one does not work. So we have to throw it out. So we only get one of ours to actually work. And the reason for that is anytime you raise something to an even power, so like when we square both sides, sometimes we pick up extra answers. And if you notice this here, we had this equal to a negative. So the sixth root of something, first of all, the basic sixth root is never going to be negative. So this would not have led to an answer that worked. So this is the only one we do get. So again, 1.6 is again just some examples of equations that you have seen in the past that are rusty with. Again, we will see them and use them as we go, but I wanted to start refreshing our memory as to how we solved some of our equations.